happy at their workplace. They feel control over their own lives and work. They are respected at the workplace. They are valued for their own contributions. They believe, the people who work actually believe that they are contributing to something very meaningful to an organization. Earlier, most of the organizations achieved both success and happy employees. But today, it's seen that very few organizations manage this balance. This balance relates with the work-life balance of an employees. The reasons may include changes in the management style, organizational structure, and employee expectations in their own respective functions. Resonance in management refers to when there is a shift from people-centered to adaptive management. The leaders are known to be as coaches and mentors rather than controllers. Organizations should aim at inspire the passion and meaning of the kind of guidance they are getting and the values they are getting. It represents the transformation of management itself, focuses more on creating the supervisors and mentors a way of man so that they can be able to manage the change. It also seeks the successful management, seeks the sustainable success by aligning organizational goals with human happiness and motivation. Let's see what is a prime factor of organizational change. Organization change, often seen as a reflection, it is also seen as a long shadow of its chief executive officer. CEO of any organization influence the strategy, styles, values, and objectives of an organization. Their perspectives may be biased since they are both actors and evaluators in an organizational performance. Lower level managers or the employees of an organization, they are most of the time they get detached also, where they can offer the objectivity, but may also show the biasness when optimistic if they are rising, or critical if it is overlooked. Customers, suppliers, distributors, and dealers, they also plays a very important role in the organization change. They provide the most unbiased assessments. It's seen that their views are shaped by the experience with both the companies and the competitors. There are certain factors when we say the managerial excellence. First is long-term objective. Long-term objective relates with the strategic objectives, which relates not only with the organizational objective, but definitely with the employees, aligned with the employees' objectives also. Cultural and values of an organization. What is the management style that the organization is adapting? What can be the business strategy of an organization? What is the structure of an organization? Whether it is line structure or what is the hierarchy of the organization? Or the structure is of functional, based on the functional roles. Management system, whether it is open management system or closed management system, that really matters a lot when we really see from a managerial excellence. Human resource quality. Human resource is known to be as an asset of an organization. So HR quality has to be best in their own respective fields to achieve the excellence within a managerial role or within an organization. The work climate of an organization has to be very the culture and the people, the harmony should be there, the trust should be there, the belongingness with the objectives of the organization has to be there. The leaders play a very important role when we say the excellence, because they can also be a role model or a mentors along with their leadership roles in an organization, which definitely puts an impact on the managerial excellence. When we overarching considerations identified on managerial excellence is the corporate objectives. Corporate objectives are beyond financials. That includes a strategic vision and clarity of market opportunity. Cultural and values are inclined towards work ethics, innovations, customer orientation, risk taking, and entrepreneurship. The decision making and communication If it's considered, it is considered to be as a delegation of responsibility, decentralizations, the quality of communication within an employees, or of course between the managers and the employees, or the supervisors and the subordinates. Business and policy objectives is all about the alignment of functions, response to environment, and new product development. Work organization is more towards the clarity of structure, problem solving capacity, and entrepreneurship. Human resource management is should be inclined and identified as or considered to be on based on the merit based promotion rather than on seniority. Employee growth, morale of an employee, industrial relations, commitment, and teamwork also plays very important role when we are really talking about the managerial excellence or overarching. Peter and Wortman in their article In Search of Excellence, they introduced 8 findings that shaped modern management thinking. He criticized for motherhood statement that is very broad and very idealistic. Peter and Waterman clarified these were not rigid principles but distilled management wisdom. So emphasized on passion for excellence and management by walking around, that also been known as MBWA, in practical wisdom. So there are certain traditional views also on the effectiveness. That is, they are the hard factors, also bifurcated or listed in 3 dimensions. That is strategy, structure, and systems. The strategy refers to the product market positioning and the competitive choices. Structure refers to the organizational design, and the system refers to the planning, the budgeting, monitoring, and the entire mechanism. These could be changed by management directives or plans. But there are certain limitations in this traditional view. The performance improvements were short-lived or lost momentum because it revolves around only the 3 hard factors about the product, about the organization design, and about the planning or the system, what the system is working on. So then McKinsey 7S model came in picture, where the other 4 factors, which are known as soft factors, are included in that. Here, the effectiveness is shaped by the relationship and balance amount. If we see the 7S model, it consists of hard S, the 3S, which is already discussed before in the traditional view, and the 4S, which is known to be as the soft S, which includes the style, staff, skill, and superordinate goals. The assumption of this McKinsey 7S model is that all the dimensions are interrelated. There is a very strong and knitted relationship among all these dimensions. Change in one area requires attention of others. Organizations are complex social structure. Organizations are not machines. The people are working there, have their own thought processes, own emotions, their own style of working, own methodologies. So everything revolves around, along with the strategy. The skills need to be connected with that, or maybe with the structure, the staff, the human resource, or the people over there are also connected with them. Then only the things can really take a best shape if we really see from an effectiveness point of view. So when we see from an Indian experience of Bhattacharya in 1989, he excelled in systems and processes, but values often mirrored parent companies. It appeared Indian outwardly, but remained aligned with global strategies. So rarely, because everybody was working for the multinationals or maybe for the global companies on the global strategy. So very few entrepreneurial is found within the people. But the public sector companies, they had the strong identification in Indo-socio-political environment. They face the issues on entrepreneurial versus managerial roles due to short CEO tenures. Few leaders, for example, Mr. V. Krishnamurthy from BHEL or M.K. Mathura from HMT stood out as an institutional builders. There is another angle of humanistic philosophy in management of change and organization. In 1920s and 30s, Hawthorne studies were taken and raised that was mainly evolved to see the human element in the performance. Also started as human relations as in the management field. That is another uh, dimension how the management field is seen as. By 1950s, evolved into the management philosophy, challenging classical and bureaucratic models. The key thinkers and contributions for other humanistic contributions were Abraham Maslow, who introduced a motivation theory, also known as hierarchical motivation theory. There is a hierarchy of needs, especially the top one is self-actualization. So overall, there are five basic needs which person, once it's according to Abraham Maslow, once a first need or the basic need, which is known as physiological needs, one fulfills that, then only it moves above to the next need, and it is in a pyramid shape. The workplace should provide the opportunities for growth and self-fulfillment. That is the self-actualization is the top of the need of an employee. Chris Argy's criticized the bureaucratic models and seen as contradictory to human growth. Here, the focus was aligned with the individual needs with organizational context. McGeorger comes with another humanistic approach, that is a human side of enterprise, where he bifurcated the theory into two parts. The motivation factors can be theory, it is known to be as theory X and theory Y. So theory X is the non-motivators, and the theory Y says who all can be the motivators. So if we see both the dimensions, both the theories, theory X says when there is negative and control-oriented view, it leads to bureaucracy, it leads to the downward communication is there, and it is followed by the rules. Whereas theory Y says if there is a positive environment and the trust is among the employees, it gives more self-control, more better alignment of individual and organizational goals, and it definitely supports the self-actualization, which is the top of the needs, which was mentioned by Abraham Maslow. Renesas Likert came up with that organizations are the social organism. It is not just the individuals. He introduced linking pin role. Linking pin role refers to when the managers link multiple work groups, and the emphasis is more on the group, more on the trust. The participatory creates a participatory environment, and definitely the support relationship is more advocated in this particular contribution. There are certain models of organizational analysis. Organizational analysis is done not only from a organization point of view, but also from the people centered also. So let's understand what are the models which is included in this particular chapter. First is rational system model. Rational system model refers when the organization is more driving their goals and their objective, and it is treated to be as an instrument to achieve the goals. The emphasis is more on the formal structure of an organization, rational decision thinking, and the planned change within an organization. So the views inefficiency as in maybe because of the error or in ignorance. and assumes that problems are fixable with better rules. So the entire model actually emphasizes on the rules, policies, regulations, structure, because when we use the word rational system model, so rational means working with the rules and protocols and the regulations along with the analytical analysis of that particular organization, which followed by all these rules and regulations. Second is natural system model. Natural system model, here the organization are taken as a natural organism, and the goal is equals to the survival and equilibrium. The structures are emergent. They are shaped by shared values and informal norms. Change is mostly planned. It is not unplanned. It is more adaptive, and the planned change can have unintended consequences. It is seen that because these changes, these planned change have the unattended consequences, refers to the consequences which were not unintended, which were not actually came out of with the uncertainty as well. But in the natural system model, the people are involved in that, because here, when we say it is shaped by the shared values definitely refers and direct towards the or people analysis also, the employees who are working there, and there are certain norms, but that also directed through the informal norms or maybe very flexible norms. Third model is comparison. When there is a comparison, when we talk about the analysis part, we compare between the rational model and natural model. Most of the modern theories combine both the perspectives. Rational model is focused on efficiency, plans, rules, regulations, policies, hierarchy, structure, whereas the natural model refers to the equilibrium, adaptation, and informal patterns among the employees. So it is seen that the modern theories are the combination, along with the efficiency, the values are also equally important. The organization culture is equally important, the adaptation is equally important, but within the norms of or as per the policies. The another model is classical model of organization, which is rooted by Weber and Taylor. Weber come up with a concept of bureaucracy, whereas Taylor came with a scientific management. Here, the hierarchy is from top to down. The workers are treated as an economic man. They are motivated mainly by money. So it is said that the money is one of the prime motivator among the employees. The formal communication is seen as a downward, that is from top management to lower management. And there is strict specialization which is seen within these kind of model. Conflict resolution by hierarchy. That is a push problem up. Push problem up means the conflict resolution is, that is gone with the that is as per the rules or as per the hierarchy. The resolution can be done. The strength of the classical model is efficiency and control, whereas the weakness is as the employees are very strictly monitored, where the strict specialization is required, and it is more of an economic angle. So it ignores the human needs. It treats the workers as the tools. So more they work, more they get. The kind of work they are getting, it depends on piece per rate system or the time scheduled for them to get the best output, and the rates or the wages what they are getting, whatever output they give it to the organization. So it may lead, it also seen that the workers were working for long hours. They came up with the fatigue study was done after that, and the human needs were ignored because of the employees were treated as a tool of efficiency, tool to be as an effective organization. Whereas the participative model, on the other hand, is rooted by McGeorge, Lickard, Iris, and Lewin. The workers were treated as maturing individuals seeking self-actualization, independence, and deeper interaction. The key features in the participative model is integration of individual needs with organization goals. The individual needs, the individual goals and the organization goal need to be aligned together. They need to be in a combination of effective work groups with loyalty and high performance is one of the very important feature of the participative model. Linking pin concept, as discussed in the previous slide also, it is termed to be as a overlapping membership to ensure the coordination. In the previous slide, it is seen that the linking pin role is for the manager, where the managers link multiple work groups. They link all the different work groups and the different, that is when they are linked together for the further collaborations, or maybe for the the trust or the participation, or maybe the support from other functional areas or support from other groups. So this is more towards the human trust, human contribution to the organization goals, along with the shared values and the participation. So that is why the the linking pin is a concept which comes under the participative model. Supportive relationships is seen where the employees feel respected and valued. Since it is the term of the model is already self-explanatory, that the participation can be best when everybody supports within that work group, and they participate in that group aligned with their roles and the goals towards the organization, along with the organization goals. The decision making is more of participation of the employees from all the levels. So definitely it will minimize the conflicts. And if there is any conflict arises after that also, that again can be the conflict resolution also done in a very participative mode. Here, the change approach refers and comes with the systems, that is system-wide. It is not isolated tweaks. So, entire system, whenever there is a happens to be change, whenever something comes up to get the change within an organization, it is a system-oriented change. It is a planned change. It starts with causal variables, that is the values or the leadership or the group structure, how it affects, and how the values can be a cause, how the leadership can be a cause for the efficiency or maybe for the productivity of an organization. It also secures the individual commitment and reduces the resistance. So when it is seen that when the employees are committed to their work, when the employees have not only the individual commitment to themselves, but also maintain the organizational commitment within an organization, it reduces the resistance and they adapt the change very easily, very willingly. The outcome of the Lickard research says that the supportive and participative management results in higher sales, better quality, lower cost, and stronger motivation. So it is seen that the people who are the human at the workplace, if it is the organization is working in a participative model, the employees are happy, they willingly participate in the organization initiatives and the organization change happening to be for the further productivity and efficiency, because they are not only the tool of productivity, but they are also valued and trusted for their decision and the work they are doing. So that definitely helps the organization to attain the goals in a very stipulated time, or maybe before the timeline, because the employees are seen to be as motivated employees. And definitely, when we talk about the productivity, they are highest. It is reported also that they is seen as higher sale, and definitely with a better quality with low costs. So, organization culture and change, when we say so, the culture is the deeper level of shared basic assumptions and beliefs where but it is underrated. It is the culture is unconscious and taken for granted sometimes because it is an inbuilt or an in-depth insight of an organization where I believe where I have a shared belief that the culture is within an organization. It comes with an individual contribution also, the learned responses of external survival problems and internal integration problems. So it is also seen that it is the culture is not only because of the external environment, but also the internal integration of the internal belief in the assumption of an employees also. It is distinguished from artifacts, values, and assumptions. When we say artifacts, the visible symbols are there, the visible behaviors are there. The values are all about the articulated principles, and the assumptions is the core essence of the culture where we say it is seen that the organization culture is built by not only by the people but also the belief in them within an organization. So culture as group property is found only in stable social units with shared history and experiences. Subcultures also exist within organization, which is managerial culture, occupational culture, geographical or proximity growth, and worker or hierarchy based cultures. Organizations wide cultures exist only if there is a significant shared history. So the culture exists only when there are shared or there are the people who are, you know, uh, the people who are in a harmony, in a trust, they are functionally associated with each other. They are creating a group which is full of trust and participation, and there is also seen that there are specific units which with the experiences where it is seen that culture is a group property because it comes with a group of people. One individual cannot change the culture of an organization. It is a collaborative effort, so it is known to be as an organizational culture. It's a group effort. Culture and change, when combined together, the culture is a learned product of group experience. It evolves with the new experiences. The change is possible if we understand learning and unlearning of assumptions. The management of culture requires linking with grand strategy. The strategy can be vision, the survival, and the competitiveness. So culture and change goes hand in hand because here the culture is more it's actually a product of group experience, a collaborative effort of an employees of an organization, which comes with a new experiences or maybe a new change within an organization. The change is when it happens to be, it is also seen not only with an individual but from an organizational context. If they unlearn or their previous assumptions which are not required, and they relearn or learn the new beliefs and they inculcate the new beliefs and new assumptions within an organization, then only the change is possible. Otherwise the organization cannot be able to change on the basis of the old assumptions or old beliefs. So management, the strategic management plays a very important role in change management, where the mission and the vision of the organization has to be clear. The competitiveness has to be on a very ethical move, or maybe it is on a more of a rather than competitiveness, it is more of a the performance based or the upliftment of the organization. So the factors influencing the organization culture is first is history and ownership. What family businesses or versus a dispersed ownership, because it is seen that the some organizations which carries the history or the legacy of having a good organization culture, that is seen that they carries that assumption and belief with a good organization culture itself. So here the Tatas are known to be as an best of the organization culture when we see from a history and ownership of the businesses. Size can be small or a large when we say from an organization culture context. The organizations which are small in size are more centralized, whereas the large organizations have the diluted control. The technology our high tech requires flexible cultures, and the stable tech is a formalized culture. When we say the flexible culture, because the high tech organization, the high tech technology, based on technology, the organizations who are working on that, they are working mainly on the global networks. So there, the flexible culture, let's say, the kind of timeline they are coming in, and the timeline they are working in, the values they are sharing, globally with their networks or with their workplaces. But with a stable tech, where it is one culture or the stable cultured organization is there, it is seen that there is a stable tech or the technology is not very flexible or not, divergent. So there it is seen that there is a formalized culture. They are working within the same timeline. They are working within the same structure or same hierarchies or the same policies. Whereas in the high tech requires many changes in the policies also are. It is required because the timelines are different, wage salaries are different, the employees are different. They are working in different timeline as per their clients' requirements, or maybe the salaries are also depends on the geographical areas they are working in, or that again depends on the kind of work culture or the organization culture is happening within an organization. So leadership and mission is where happens to be it influence the organization culture, where the leaders have values. Their vision and mission is very much clear. There is a clarity. There is no ambiguity. Mission statements have plays a very important role to shaping the entire culture, because when the vision and the mission of the organization is clear, that creates an environment within an organization with that perspective only, and everybody is aligned with that mission, that actually creates the culture or that creates the environment of an organization. So there are certain cultural web elements which were given by Johnson and Spalls, where one of the element is stories that define the success and failure of an organization, which represents the culture of an organization, the routines, the normal way of doing things, how the things are done in are happening to be an organization, the rituals, what they are celebrating, that refers to the quality or innovations or maybe long service. So what's celebrated there? Symbols, the logos, the office, the ambience, the people, the perks. Control system refers to the formal and informal rules of it. How many rules are formal and how many rules are flexible within an organization? That is, again, it is a then it is structure. Structure is about the hierarchy of an organization, the reporting or the relationship among the employees. Then is power structure, that refers to the decision-making authorities, who decides and how they decide. So it is a web of the seven elements which actually relates with each other and creates the culture of an organization. For example, an organization is successful in their own when they whatever mission they have taken. So, what was the normal? What was celebrated? Whether it was because of the innovative product or what were the perks they got it, how was the ambience of an organization, whether the rules were very strict or the everybody follows the strict rules, or it was flexible for the people who were involved in that particular project, and who decided what, and what was the role of employees and the relationship among them, whether they are working on a collaborative effort for that particular project. So this all is created a culture through these web elements, or maybe vice versa. If there is a failure, so what was the flaws and who all were employees, what was not celebrated, maybe the quality was compromised, or the when we say the symbols, so what were the, whether the perks, what were the perks, maybe that was not aligned with the work, or that was not up to the monetary factors were not aligned with the work the people are doing over there, or maybe also refers to the very strict rules or strict protocols which resist the employees to create a good environment, a good culture within an organization. So culture and organizational effectiveness also shapes the effectiveness, not only effectiveness but sustainability and responsiveness to change. For the culture can be a wrong culture or a right culture, or maybe we can say otherwise a positive culture and negative culture. Whenever we've seen that there is a wrong culture or negative culture within an organization, there is seen as to be a resistance towards the work, resistance towards the change. That leads to inefficiency among the employees. Whereas the right culture refers to the adaptability to the, maybe because of the rapid technological changes, or maybe because of the change in the organization hierarchies, or the structure of an organization. If there is a redesigning of an organization on the job role, how much adaptability is there, and how they are taking the adaptability in what manner, that matters a lot. And if it is adaptable, that seem to be as a right culture or a positive culture of an organization, which definitely refers to the world-class performance of an organization. So changing organization culture have certain steps, or we'll say the success factors of that. Let's see that. First is the mission, vision, goals, direction has to be very clear. Whenever there is a change in an organization culture, during that change, what we are trying to change, that is, or we are aiming to change, that has to be very clear to everyone. The top management commitment is very important, because the strategic move is from top management only. The change happens from top management only. Symbolic leadership is all about when the leaders must live in the new culture. When they adapt the new culture, it is seen that the subordinates or the employees of an organization also adapt the same, they also share the same views, or they also share the culture, or adapt the culture how their leaders are doing. The organization change, organization structure, systems, or maybe reporting has to be aligned. That has to be very supportive. The change membership is recruiting the new values or letting go in the resistors. So it is more of unlearning and learning the new things. Because whatever things are resisting, or whatever the hurdles are there, or maybe that is the rules or the regulation which are not required to get into the new change, or not aligning with the new change, there it is needs to be let going. That also can be do with the interventions by trainings or by mentoring or counseling or maybe through the role models. Reinforcement refers to the rewards. Whosoever is involved in the the change behavior or the change culture, the rewards of the desired behavior has to be reinforced or the extinguish old ones. Then there is need for both power and expertise. Power relates with the decision making, strategic movement, whereas the expertise refers to the finding out the best from those resources. So the power and expertise was combinedly given by Hofstede in their study. That is match promoter, which is also known as power holders, the CEO or the strategic team or the advisors or the senior manager of an organization. Whereas the fact promoters are the external promoters who give the guidance, who actually diagnose about the or identifying the problem, where what functions or which functional area or which particular system requires the change. So along with that, hard and soft measures needs to be combined together, along with the structural redesigning or the hierarchical or the job role redesigning. The value shift need to be there. The employee involvement is very important to avoid the imposing and to encourage the participatory movement at the workplace. Patience is the key of change. It takes sometimes years to change, years for deep cultural change, because the change happen will not and never happens within a very short period of time. It is not only a change in the technology; it is also about the adaptation. It is also about the belief and assumptions because the people who are working at the organization with old belief, they need to unlearn those assumptions and beliefs and adapt to and to move to the new belief and assumptions along with the new change or maybe the new policies or the procedures which is required for that particular changes. So there are certain other key factors in cultural change, which is referred by Donald Brown in 1996. That is, understand the old culture. It is very important to understand the old culture before moving further with the new culture. Encouraging and reinforcing change in employees. Use of outstanding units as models. Don't impose. Participation of employees is very important with a vision. With large scale change takes time that may take 3 to 5 years sometimes to get into the deep down cultural change. The top management and the leaders must live in the new culture. They should be the first movers to get into the new change so that the rest of the team follows them. The Hari Gopal in 2001 gave some guidelines for the cultural shift or cultural change. That is, defining the new strategies and values are needed. Assess if change is necessary. It is not important that with every new thing, change has to be done. If it is important, if it is necessary to align with the organization goal, then only get along with that. Identify what to keep and what to modify. uh, it depends because the entire thing cannot be changed at one go. It can be modified or it can be do it in different phases as well. Decide depth of change required. Translate change into goals, sub goals, and behavior of the employees. Top down commitment must be visible. The involvement of the employees and everybody is advocated that the participative management style has to be inculcated in any of the change happens. The support system, which refers to the rewards, the processes that must be aligned. The rewards are plays a very important role in the motivating and participation of employees in an organization. Monitoring progress and building momentum is again very important when there is a cultural change, happens to be cultural change. Expect resistance and causality. That is very important because whenever any change happens, maybe not very too much, but maybe very few of the employees resist. So it while changing or maybe the some percentage of resistance should be expected because it is seen from a positive way also. If there is resistance, they may come up with alternate solutions or they come up with a new innovative ideas where or they come up with what can be the cause, what are the root causes of that particular change or why it should not happen. So here, these guidelines need to be followed before an organization look for the cultural change. The need for indigenous management in developing countries. Why indigenous management is needed? Most of the management theories and practices comes from the West, the industrialized countries, and the developing countries often adopt them uncritically. They adopt it just as if the style or the theories comes in at a domestic level. Even ignoring the socio-cultural and environmental differences. This happens to be ineffectiveness and inefficiency in an organizational context. The organization must adapt to their own environment. That refers to economic, political, and socio-cultural environment. So here it is required, it is needed, but that again depends. That need to be critically seen, what need to be adopted and what need not to be. So the two objectives of organization is mainly from performance, that refers to the, in one word, about the profit, about the economics, about the productivity. Whereas the human development service or human development objective refers to how to motivate or how to maintain and develop the workforce. So both depend on values and attitude and the culture. Values of not only the individual values but also the organizational values. The attitude is again not only the individual attitude but of course with the organizational or the strategic movement as well as the cultural values. The organization culture plays a very important role in indigenous management in developing countries, where the internal work culture refers to the shared values, beliefs, and norms, which leads to shape the daily behavior on a when we say from a micro level. Because on a daily basis, how the people are changing themselves, how the people in an organization are adopting the changes happening within an organization, the processes happening on a daily basis, and definitely it shapes a macro when it comes to the strategy and the organization structure. So internal work culture is largely depends on micro and macro processes that aligned with the external environment for survival and competitiveness. So it is also when we say the organization culture within an indigenous management, it is very sensitive to three environments. First is economic, technological environment, political, legal environment, and socio-cultural environment. Economical and technological environment refers to the labor, the wages, the infrastructure, the capital, the technology, whereas the political, legal refers to the government policies, the taxes, the labor laws, bureaucracy, whereas the social cultural environment refers to the norms, beliefs, values, assumptions of the society. Fourth is problem with Western transfer. Western model assume Protestant work ethics, individualism, and rationalism. Developing countries differ from religiosity and fatalism and collectivism. The blind transfer is leads to the poor results because whatever the change or the ethics or the assumptions or the beliefs are having at the Western models of Western countries, if adapted at a developing countries uh, at the same pace with the same policies and integrate at the domestic or developing countries, there is a clash between the religion, the fatalism, or and definitely refers to the poor results. For example, Japan, South Korea, Taiwan. They succeeded by using local Confucian values, not Western imitation. So they have their own value system, they have their own culture. They are not just imitating or just not adopting the Western culture because that is not easily adaptable by the employees or the people at the country level. Developed and developing country environments are different not only there economically but also politically. The developed countries have high predictability and resource availability, whereas the developing have high unpredictability and they have very few resources. They have to really manage with those resources, not only the economic but the other materials, manpower, and the machines, the technology. In developed countries, it is seen that the political climate or the legal environment is stable. Whereas in the developing countries, it is seen that there is a lot of instability in the political environment. It is seen the bureaucracy, corruption, and it is sometimes very difficult to manage, rather plan those changes or plan about the environment because here the first the resources are scarce, second there is high unpredictability, third there is bureaucracy is too much which resist the people to get into the even to think about the cultural change or the management change. Sixth is socio-cultural environment. Socio-cultural environment refers to the power distance that is high in developing, hierarchical. When we say it is high in developing country, it is more towards a paternalistic and hierarchical, whereas it is the power distance is very low in developed countries. The uncertainty avoidance is higher in developed countries, whereas the developing countries tolerate ambiguity or they rely on fate. If something is not happening, they rely on that it was not in their fate. It was, or maybe if something happens, if there is any ambiguity, they leave it to the luck, they leave it to the fate. Whereas it uncertainty is not avoided in developed countries because there they see the thing from a very critical point of view. Also, they work on that. The resources are too much. There are the stable environment, external environment is stable in developed countries. Individualism and collectivism, when we see from this factor, then in the developed countries, it is more individualistic, whereas in developing countries, it is more collectivist. Masculinity and femininity. In developed countries, it is more inclined toward the masculine. Masculine refers to the achievements. Masculine refers to the money, the economic factors. Whereas as the developing countries are more inclined towards the collectivist approach as well as the feminist approach because there the developing countries are more inclined towards the relationship, towards the nurturance, towards the values, towards the shared values, the beliefs. So here the developed countries are more masculine in nature when we see from cultural environment, whereas the developing countries are feminine in nature. Associative and abstract thinking is more in the developed, whereas the abstractive thinking is seen in the developed countries. The associative is when the people are associated. It is again refers to the collectivism also, the context base also, whereas the developed are more inclined towards the principle based and the formal systems, the rules, the protocols, the regulations. Whereas in the developing, even the thought process is associative. It is to some extent it is flexible also. Where in the developed countries, the thought process is very rigid. They go by the rules, regulations, protocols, laws. It is seen that in the laws and in the developed countries are much more strict than the laws in the. So this is how the thought process also comes up. The thought process also developed of the people over there. The seventh one is when we say the need for indigenous management is difference in the work culture. The locus of control leads to in the developing countries is external. It is fate driven, whereas in the developed it is internal, that is self driven, because whenever there is a locus of control is not not aligned, it is seen that they self evaluate and they self driven towards that particular control system. So human potential in developing countries is fixed. Since the resources are scarce, there is limited training. Career planning is more inclined, whereas in the developed countries, it is malleable. The high investments is in human resources, more towards the development part. The time orientation in the developing country is short-term, present focus, whereas in the developed countries, it is more of future-oriented and long-term planning. The achievement norms in the developing countries is moralistic, traditional, religion-based, whereas in the developed country, it is more towards achievement-based and pragmatic. Superior and subordinate relations is more paternalistic in developing, whereas in the developed, it is more of participative. Thought process, thinking, behavior, it is more of context or it is flexible in developing, whereas it is rigid in the developed countries. So there are certain implications also which needs to be known, that the organization must adopt the social cultural realities, incorporate local values, build strategies which is collectively, whereas also feminism and the balance short-term adaptability with gradual capacity, and the organization must recognize as open system where culture and environment shape work behavior. The earlier belief was that development is diffusion of Western technology plus Western management. This view challenge and leads to the culture who shows different behavior. For example, British managers. There is it is seen that there is a formal communication, whereas when we talk about the Chinese, if they are more, face-to-face communication is preferred, and it is seen, grapevine is seen at the communication level. Even the family ties are seen at the Chinese culture and the organization. So one best way in management does not exist. The management practices are sometimes be combination or cultural or customized as per the culture of or as per the religion or culture changes. Management practices are cultural bound. So Japanese success use Confucian values where it is more inclined towards the trust, whereas plus they adapt the Western techniques along with that. East Asian NICs, that is China, Hong Kong, Korea, Singapore, Taiwan, they experimented with the indigenous models. So indigenization is complex, but not a clash of it is not the traditional modernity. It is a combination. It may be complex because it depends on the culture, the religion, the people of an organization, they believe, their assumptions. It is an assimilative synthesis, which means a combination of best of local and modern systems. So the indigenization is adaptation of the local socio-cultural values in the context with blend of tradition and modernity. So, as it is seen with the Japanese versus Americans, that 95% is same, but differ in their important aspects. When the cultural comes in a picture, when the way they are behaving, or maybe their values and the beliefs. So, indigenization depends on not only the organizational characteristics, which refers to the science, technology, or climate. Task environment, social environment also plays a very important role, which refers to the labor market, the education, the culture, the customers. So the globalization is more intercultural contact, which refers to travel, media, global village. And homogenization also possible, but the core value is very important, and the cultural trait persists in that. There are certain strategic behavior or strategic development organization. First is domain compliance, which align with the national priorities. The tools refers to be as target setting or reward for the performers, involving domain respects, training institutes and performance reviews. For example, the IPC, Indian Planning Commission, or the Public Enterprise Monitoring is seen as a domain compliance. Then is another strategic behavior is learning strategy. That is most of the time it is adaptation of trial and error. The organizations start small, scale up after mastery, start with one goal or product, and diversify, or maybe comes with a multiple product line. Pilot projects is run before the expansion, or partnership for the technology transfer is seen in case of HMT and BHEL, or say BHEL Siemens and HMT and Oridicon. Innovation diffusion is also one of the strategic behavior which is seen, like the private firms, unlike strategic, those who have the patent, strategic organization spread innovation very quickly. The publicity, the training change agents, codifying the best practices are the main tools. Seeking autonomy is again a strategic behavior seen, which need the freedom from bureaucratic and political pressures. The tools are MOUs with government, credibility building with government through transparency and results, and alternative funding. The fifth strategic behavior is seen as domain development strategy. Build capacity of sector, not just exploit market. That is the main objective, and the tools can be networking, institutional building, special purpose institution, and voluntary organizations. The institution building is like IIMs Ahmedabad training others, and etc. for textiles and all. And the special institutions are IDBI, NDB, these and all. So the closing cultural gaps may also occurs if it fails, if the culture change phase, the work group resist, and even the top management initiate reforms. Employee often blame the level above them, and that creates a cultural impact. Or maybe the denial, the apathy, even closure of units instead of change. So here, the accurate information is very important, commitment and multi-level participation is very important. So the barriers refers to the fear of exposing problems and can improve morale and performance. Organizations become true cultural organizations. So that's all for today. But before that, we need to understand if it is unmanaged, then the old bureaucratic culture asserts and the failure comes when there is a cultural gap or the cultural gap because of any of the barriers. So before moving further, it has to be done on a surveys or a pilot study, and that improves not only the performance but also the true inside in-depth cultural change within an organization. So thank you so much for today. Namaste.